The Aldo House is something of an experiment. We thought of it as a way to bring design to people who wouldn't meet us, and yet who wanted a house that embodied our vision, our approach, and our conceptual attitude to what constitutes a home. It was about creating something not intended for any one particular person. Would a family whom we had not met, we had not interviewed, be able to embrace this house as something they felt was really home for them? Could other family do the same? This was a demonstration of how a concept overrides all the technicalities. A house means different things to different people. I see it more as a container for experience. It's basically a shell that serves to shelter a family. If you give that form, it's a box. You have different types of experiences, and so you break that up into several boxes. Give it some room, some definition, and allow for there to be a differentiation of experience. So you have large soaring spaces, you have small intimate ones, you have spaces that are airy and bright, and others that are dark and cozy. And how do you put that all together in a way that will make practical sense? How do you shelter them from the elements? You begin thinking now, a problem with the Philippines is that it's always raining, it's always harsh, very hot, very wet, and you need to have constant airflow. And how do you get that into a box without having to bring in those little bits and pieces that clutter? Because the problem is when you have normal concrete houses, you have these boxes that look great for the first 2 years. And then it rains, and then suddenly you've got grime and you've got pollution, and you end up with all of these unintended effects, all the consequences of decay, degradation, erosion, etc. And suddenly your house has not aged well. It no longer looks like what you had planned. How do you protect your pure form so that it stays that way? And so the concept just kept getting clearer. It's an umbrella, it's a parasol, it's a shed, and so you have a twofold type of protection. The family is protected from the elements, and the house, the container itself, is also protected. So think of the benefits once you have done that, detached the one from the other. You now introduce flowing currents in between the roof, the canopy, and the top of your box. In a typical house, you have your ceiling, the roof over it, and then you've got airspace. But the problem is with the airspace, when the sun penetrates, it heats that air. And so although that air is supposed to serve as a buffer between you and the sun, it's hot. And so it doesn't do as good a job as it should. You have to have insulation, you have to have all these layers that filter, etc. So what if you just take all of that out and just air, nothing but air between you and the top of the house and its canopy? Then it just seemed so simple. God is in the details. Now the question is how to reduce those details down to the most elemental, because it's not well thought out. It will end up having to be taken care of. The details should actually be there for a reason. Sloped edge on your baseboard in order for dirt not to land on it, right? It will fall down. There are important reasons for everything that happened in that house, and they are functional. And yet, they also add to the character and beauty of the shell, integrating beauty into the bones. Beauty should be integrated into every facet of building. It's a crying shame, in fact, that beauty is now seen as something that you don't even need to aim for. It comes in as a byproduct of good design. If you just attend to all the practical needs, then beauty will happen. That doesn't happen that way. You need to aim for beauty before it happens. It's people who actually aim to create a beautiful thing who are more likely to succeed than those who say, let's do something, and if it works out, there will be a kind of beauty. I couldn't decide which would look better, the front or the back. Actually, the sides look good too. There should be 4 beautiful sides. There should be a major face and maybe 3 minors. And in this case, we thought, it just worked out such that there seemed to be equally strong. It's like a Janus kind of face, two-faced. Both sides were beautiful. And that is actually very reflective also of how we feel about home. It should present a formal face to the street and an equally beautiful face to the family. If you flip them around, you should have nothing to fear. It should look just as good. That little box that protrudes is ripe for expression. In this version, we tried bricks to add a little bit of color and texture, but it could equally look good with a dark concrete facade. I could imagine it all glass. It could be many things. It could be whatever you want it to be. It's an authentic response. It simply occurred as a response to the situation, the potential problem, a family that needed a home, that needed to be watertight, that needed to be protected from heat, that needed to have air flowing, that needed to stay cool in the hottest of weathers.